Do you remember when you were in vet school how you always fell behind? Like there was always, even if you had all the essays, whatever you had to do, all the practical bits, there's just always something more to read. There was always another chapter, some notes people recommended, another course you could take. Like there was just always something to make you feel behind. I know for sure I felt like that as a student, and I'm sure like 99.9% of you felt the same. And I also fell behind compared to my peers. I remember having studied so hard for a chemistry exam. And I think, well, as far as I remember, what the teacher was to give us, I think he gave us like 200 exercises to do. And I took them with me on holiday to Spain. My family was back, home for Christmas. And I sat and slaved over them. And some of them I couldn't do because they were so difficult. Bear in mind that I went to high school in Spain and then I went back to Denmark to do vet school. And the chemistry they taught in Denmark was just so different from what I had been taught in Spain. And the emphasis they had had on organic chemistry and non-organic was just so different. So many things I didn't quite understand. And the level was really high. So I don't think I finished the 200 and 250 exercises, whatever it was. And I remember standing outside the exam room before we went in. It was a written exam, really long. And I hear one of the other students say, "Oh, well, I did it all twice. I read through all the exercises twice, and I still don't feel I'm prepared enough." And I was like, "Oh my fuck, I'm gonna fail this big time. Like, what? What do you mean you went through it twice?" So there was just constantly this feeling of either being behind in what I should read, behind my peers, behind in time. And I don't know if you've noticed that we carry this with us later on. So I was speaking to a vet the other day that had moved on to a new clinic and she had started to take some sort of certification. But now because she had moved to the new clinic, there was just so much going on that she felt she had to pause the certification for a year. And there was this urgency and like, now I'm behind, right? I started out with certification. I thought I was going to be finished the end of whatever. And now I paused it. So now I'm behind. And also the feeling of being behind in a new place when you go to work, because now everybody else knows things you don't know. So now you're behind them. I was also coaching a new grad on edit. Well, new grad. I've been out for 2 years and they said, that they just felt so behind. They felt that they had come out and there was just things they couldn't remember from when they were studying, and they just felt like they were so behind their peers. Like other people that I studied with was just so much further ahead of them. And today I was coaching one of my clients who is like well experienced and well settled into her job, and she was feeling that she had kind of we have worked for a long time and still sometimes she dips into a bit of anxiety and stress and goes back a bit into her own patterns. And now she feel like behind in the sense that she should be further ahead. Like she should be more, I guess, spiritually aligned, enlightened. She should feel better. She should be further along on the path out of stress. And all these ways of feeling behind in these different contexts, it just stresses us out. First of all, there is no behind. It's like with my course, for example. So if you buy my course, Happy and VetMed, it's 12 modules, and I send you a module every week. And I send you a module every week simply because that's just the way I've set it up. And so you have like a week to go through each module, and it obviously doesn't take a week. It probably takes like 45 minutes, an hour if you dedicate some time to it. But it doesn't mean you have to do it every week. Like you got lifetime access and you can totally do it in your own time. And when we were doing the course live and I had, the vets were coming in on group calls and and I said, well, have you read through the materials? But it wasn't a requirement because on the group calls, people just come, bring whatever shit they were going through and, like imposter syndrome and problems with, the other partners or employees or whatever. So like one of the vets went through the whole course, and I think she maybe looked at one module, and the rest two just turned up for the group calls and for the individual calls I had scheduled, right? So the course is no longer live. So what you just get the module now, you study by yourself, and then you get one coaching session with me that you can choose whenever, and you get written coaching if you just answer the emails. But that's not the point. The point is that she went through the whole course and got a lot out of it just from turning up to the course. And what's not helpful in all these situations I've painted out for you, like both as a student, both as a new grad, both as someone who's new to a new clinic, or you're on your path to trying to get out of anxiety and you feel you should be further ahead, or you feel you should have this certification already, or you feel you're behind your colleagues or your peers or whatever it is, you are not behind. Like there is no, like this is not like Hunger Games or something like that, where it's like a time limit where you have to finish something. You have to see that everything is just a path and you're just moving forward. And then sometimes we take little deviations to one side and to the other. We do other things. Maybe we do something that we try something out or we have a little break and then we continue. And we're all like, we're not even started out at the same point, right? Like humans and vets in life. We're kind of moving forward and we're learning different things. So maybe if, for example, you came into vet med like a year or two ago and you are in a clinic and you're like, oh my God, I'm still not very good at surgery, and you speak to a peer that maybe is like super fluent in bit space now, and you think, oh my God, I'm so behind. They know so much more than me. But maybe the clinic you're in, you have learned a lot of how to handle clients, how to, be really good in consults, feel really solid in your internal medicine. Maybe you really worked up some cases, fluid therapy, whatever it is, you're really good at that. And this other vet has just like, for some reason, done more surgery, right? And it's just we move in different, like we stop and start, we stop and start, and and everything is kind of moving forward all the time, but we're never moving at the same pace. So when your brain puts you into this space of I'm behind, first of all, it's a lie. It's a thought error. It's not, it's just something your brain has made up, because you're not behind. You're not like in a race, right? You're not like a greyhound running after a rabbit. You're just living your life and you're doing the stuff you want to do. You don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. One of the things I teach in the course, and also when I have like my one-on-one clients, is instead of comparing yourself to others, which you should never do, because first of all, you might look at some of the vets and they might seem incredibly competent and might feel super confident and they have their life together and the work-life balance and blah blah blah. But then actually, if you spoke to them in a dark room and they spoke completely from their heart, like they might have a lot of suffering you have no idea about, because people will not show. A lot of the vets that I coached that were literally in the ditch of almost depression, anxiety, stress, and feeling so incompetent and so inadequate, you see them working and they come across as smiley, as confident, as like they have all the time in the world, but inside their turmoil. So don't compare yourself to anybody else, because it makes no sense. It's like comparing apples to pears. But wait, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So what I teach is that you compare to yourself. So you compare to yourself a year ago. You compare yourself to 5 years ago. You compare yourself to 10 years ago, or even before you became a vet. I remember before I became a vet, I didn't really know the whole kidney, urine, bladder thing. I knew kidneys existed, but before I went into high school, I wasn't aware that, the blood flows through the kidneys and produces urine and it goes, into the bladder. It sounds incredibly stupid and basic now, but I literally didn't know. I mean, I was so innocent, gullible, and like non-knowledgeable about anything but like the most famous pop singers when I was a teenager. So when I compare like the amount of knowledge I have acquired in the last 30 years is insane on at all levels, like vet stuff, tech stuff. Like I'm sitting and doing my Zoom call, I edit my podcast, I can do surgeries, stomach torsions, bit space, whatever you throw at me, I can do. I can place a catheter in like a 1.2 kilo seizuring Yorkshire Chihuahua. I will place that catheter, And I remember when I started vet school and somebody showed me a catheter, a leg for the first time, I was like, I don't even know what you mean. Like, how am I supposed to like see or feel a vein? Like all I see is a leg. I see skin. I don't know what you're talking about. And I was stabbing away and I had no idea. I just did not understand it. And I thought I was never gonna learn how to place a catheter. It just seems unfathomable to me. But if you compare to yourself then and now, then you can see that there is no behind, because you are a completely different person than when you started out, whatever you started out at. So to feel behind is just a concept that our brains are making up. I would say for no reasons at all, but of course, there's always a reason why our brains bully us, right? There's always a reason why our brains are like, but you should be doing this, and why have you done that? And you should, and you could have. And it's just to protect us, right? Our brain still thinks that we live in a tribe, in a cave with other humans, and we have to be super useful to other humans. And when they are like, when we then migrate from one cave to another, you do not want to fall behind, because you fall behind, they're just going to throw a stone at you and they're just not going to care, right? They're just going to leave you and you're going to be eaten by some lion. So your brain is literally still in that stage. Your brain still thinks it's really important that you're not behind. So it will look for anywhere, any situation in your life that you might be behind, and it's going to call you out. It's going to be like, hey, you're behind in this. Did you realize everybody else is in front of you? And it's not even true, but your brain just looks for it and you just believe it, right? It looks for it, it points it out like, look, you might be behind here. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I am. And it's because of the negativity bias our brains have, right? Like it always assumes the worst because that was safest when you lived in a cave with 30 other people. Like you just wanted to like always assume the worst and then celebrate the best because you were always like trying to survive. And when you had little moments of tranquility, then you wouldn't worry about anything. And then when there was shit going on, then you had to assume the worst and react really quickly to survive, right? And it seems insane that our brains are still working with this pattern, but we have evolved really quickly. We have evolved, society has evolved, like how we interact with each other, the internet, there's so much information. That's another thing, right? If you're feeling behind, like with all the resources out there, even just the free resources, the amount of webinars that I sign up for, like I literally, like the other day, there was a webinar, a rabbit webinar I signed up for. I was like, oh, I should really sign up for this because rabbits. And I was really feeling, yeah, that'd be good to learn about gut stasis. And I feel behind that maybe, see, feeling behind. I maybe feel behind colleagues that are more into rabbits than I am. So I thought I'd do that. But then the same night that I thought I was going to have a bit of time, and see this webinar that was like a limited replay time, right? So I had to watch this. We actually got a rabbit in, and it was a transfer from a clinic that actually specializes in cats and exotics. And they sent the rabbit over, and it was a bit like, if it lives until tomorrow, then we're gonna refer it. And I was like, what do you mean it's gonna live until tomorrow? I'll try and keep it alive for sure. I can keep a rabbit alive, right? It's not that hard. But it has a lot of issues going on, some weird abscess, whatnot, some infection. And the rabbit comes in, and me and the nurse examined it, and I swear to God, its vitals were all normal. The temperature was 38.4, the rest rate was 200, the heart rate was about 240. It was kind of like normal demeanor, like struggling a bit when we were kind of examining it. We put it down in a nice little pen in a warm room, and it was nibbling on hay. And I said to my nurse, let's just get the hospital sheets right and just write all out all the meds now for it and make sure we all agree on the times and when it's gonna have what. And then I'll go and get some kale, obviously being plant-based. My bit of the fridge is always like mahana for when we have rabbits and other herbivores in. I'll get some kale for the rabbits. We wrote down the meds. 10 minutes, I swear to God. We go into this rabbit and it's lying dead on its side. And you know what? I just thought there's no fucking point in me doing this webinar, is that? Because like, what is gonna change? I'm not gonna bother learning about rabbits because they're dicks and they just die for no reason. I was really fed up. So I like rabbits, but I just think like as patients, they really have a lot to desire. They have read no textbooks and they don't care. So for me to feel behind in caring for rabbits, there's just no point, right? I have to learn what I have to learn. I'm always asking my colleagues. I have colleagues that are very versed in rabbits, and I ask them, can you just send me some sheets with what you're using now? Learning a bit here and there. But yeah, there's a bit of me that maybe feels a bit like behind. I should have watched that webinar, and in the end, I just didn't have time and I didn't watch it. But that's what I mean. Like, there's so much information out there. And if I could watch this, this, and this, and I should listen to this whole podcast, and I should go to this congress, and I should really do all this, then I'm not behind anymore, right? Then I can do all this. But it's impossible. Like, everything that's out there, there's just no way you can catch up to all the information that you think you need to be the best vet ever. When I sit and I look at the courses there are, like, for example, Novotech and Webinavet and whatever. And I look at the courses that's like special for like emergencies. I'm like, this is for me. This is for me about how to give fluids and CRIs. I'm like, this is really good, right? X-rays, abdominal X-rays, chest X-rays. POCUS, all the ultrasounds. Like there's just so many things. I'm like, oh, if I did this, this, and this, and this, then I would be perfect emergency vet. But there's no way in hell. First of all, I can't afford it. But also, there's no way in hell I'm gonna have time to watch all that. And there's no use of me going around stressing about it and thinking, I'm behind, I'm behind. Oh my God, I'm so behind. Others that are maybe doing other courses or doing some courses and I'm not. Because if somebody's spending a lot of time doing courses, then they're going to be behind on something else, right? If you have a family and you're working full time, or you have a partner or whatever you have cats, and you spend a lot of time doing courses trying to catch up, then you're going to be behind in how you treat your family, right? Or how you treat your job, or how you treat your sleep, or how you treat your health and your eating patterns. So that's why, like, no matter what you do, you can never be ahead of the game and VetMed. It's impossible. And you are never really behind. You just are. You just are where you are. If you chose to start taking a certificate out and then you got overwhelmed at it and you parked it for a while or you parked it forever, that doesn't mean you're behind. Just because maybe other people signed up for the same certificate and they have done it, well, there's something else they haven't done then, isn't there? Maybe they didn't take care of their mental health. Maybe they worked themselves to the limit doing it, and you're taking care of yourself and you're getting some sleep, and you might then stay longer on VetMed than they do. That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense to compare yourselves to others because everybody's situation is different. I'm so glad I learned this concept. I learned this concept when I was in one of the group programs that my coaches from South Korea run. And Billy, my coach, he always says, like, whenever he starts up a program, he's always telling all of us from the beginning, you're never behind. You're just never behind, because he knows that this is our default as humans. We compare ourselves to others. Our brain thinks we're in a race, or it thinks that we're moving from cave to cave and there's mountain lions behind us and we're going to be behind. So he always starts out saying you're not behind. So I want to say to you now, well, now it's like February by the time this comes out, but like it's the beginning of 2026, right? Don't start feeling like you're behind this year already. Don't start feeling you're behind webinars, that you're behind skills, that you're behind money, that you're behind whatever it is you think you're behind compared to others, or whatever it is compared to yourself, but you thought you're going to be somewhere and you're not there yet. It doesn't mean jack shit. I hereby liberate you from thinking that you are behind. No matter what it is, you're not. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. How do I know that? Because you are. You are here right now with what you've got. If you were supposed to have more or be further, you would be, right? You're not, so you're not supposed to be. I hope this helps you. Just like, I know I feel like I sat here shouting, but it's like when I get passionate about something, I'm off and I talk fast. I don't think many people listen to what I say on like 1.2 speed or one and a half speed on the video on the podcast, because I don't think you would be able to understand me. Like I hardly understand me when I'm then trying to do the subtitles for the YouTube video. I just go in and correct them a bit in case it says something completely wacky. I don't have time to correct it all, but I just like skim through it. So yeah, I hope I didn't stress you out by talking this fast, but I'm very passionate about it. I know how important it is to not fall into this I'm behind. And I know that just somebody telling you that you're not behind as if they knew you can just really, really help. And I feel like I know you, because no matter where you are in VetMed, or even if you just sniff to VetMed, if you're a nurse, if you're tech, I don't care. I have probably been where you are. And I'm telling you that I know you and you're not behind. Yeah. So this is important. And I do feel that it can be really difficult to get a perspective. And when you're in it and you're just like in the eye of the storm thinking, there's so much going on and I should catch up and I'm behind, blah, 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 it's really difficult to get a perspective. So I want to say that I still have spaces. I have some spaces. I have some spots for one-on-one clients for coaching this year. And I'd love to coach you. If you feel like you're in any way behind, you're stressed, you tend to compare yourself, you tend to go into these spins over where you should be and you're not, and a lot of shouldn't, shaming yourself, guilting yourself, judging yourself, then coaching is so good, because we look at where you are now. We look at cases you're going through. We're looking at exactly the situation you're going through every week, every other week, whenever we decide to meet. We look at exactly where you are and we apply everything I talk about in this podcast. We just apply it to you in that moment. And as I get to know you after a few sessions, I can see your patterns. I can see where you're coming from, right? Because I probably run most of the patterns myself. And having quite a lot of clients under my belt now as well, I can see your patterns. So I can catch them really quickly. When you start talking, I know where you're coming from. And I can ask you some questions. I can really open up and give you a perspective of where you are, right? And I also want to say, because some people say, "Oh, I really want to be coached by you, but I want to wait until the moment is right," as if like you need to be in a certain headspace, or if you need to have time to be coached. And this is like obviously the reason why you should be coached in the first time space, because if you don't feel you're in the right mind to be coached, that's probably when you need coaching the most. And if you're in a position where you feel you don't have 1 hour a week to meet up with me on Zoom and be coached, you should probably could benefit from coaching on your time management and on your priorities, right? Because if you don't feel you can do that for yourself, then you definitely need to do something. So I'm not trying to bully you into getting coached. I'm just trying to like make you see that like don't hold back. Like if you feel like what I say in these podcasts, if you feel like it speaks to you and you're like, and maybe you go away and you're like, oh yeah, that was cool. I remember that. And then like 2 days later, you've forgotten all about it and you're kind of all stressed out again, then coaching is really, really good for that because it cements like every week you come up with a new things and I'm like, did you see that? Did you catch that? And you catch it really quickly. And then you start seeing it on the go. Like you're in the moment, you're like, oh my God, I'm so behind. And you're like, oh no, wait, I'm not behind. Wait, what am I saying? And you catch it really quickly. And that is really fun. I love when clients come on calls and they tell me, or sometimes I will even ask a question. I'll say, okay, so what are you making that mean about you? And then the client will say, well, because I'm behind. And as they're talking, I can see them remembering, oh my God, yeah, I'm doing it again, right? I'm doing it again. And the more and more you do this, the earlier you can catch it. And then it becomes a bit of a game to catch and it becomes fun. And we laugh a lot in our sessions, to be honest. Like all the clients I've had, I don't know if I just attract people with a lot of sense of humor or I just think it's so fun to call the brain out and say, did you see what your brain did there? Like how it was doing that to you? Even when people come to me and they are pretty burnt out with panic attack, high anxiety, they feel like the worst, they feel they have no confidence, you can still laugh. And that's the idea as well, isn't it? It's whatever we've got, however we feel, like let's make the most out of this life. Let's make the most out of being a vet, not being a vet, coming back to vet med, leaving vet med, whatever it is, whatever situation you're in, like make the most of it. We only live once, right? That's my philosophy anyway. I know that we can have serious moments coaching. Like a lot of it is a lot of fun as well because it's just I find it incredibly exciting to discover people's patterns, see how their brains work, and just show you like where you are and what you're doing to yourself and how you can get over it really quickly. Okay, so if you feel like that, if you want to try our coaching, then you can just sign up for a free call. It's about 50 minutes long, and I just meet up with you. We just talk, and we just see if like, how do you feel about it? What are you going through? You tell me what's happening, and then if you want to, then we can speak about working together. But there's no pressure, right? Because I know there's nothing worse than coming on a call and then feel like you have to make a decision or you feel like, oh, now Gunila wasted time on me, so now I like have to be coached, but I have to sign up for coaching. That's not the case at all, right? Like, we meet up and now also gain a lot of insight, right? Because every new person that comes into my world, I might discover yet another pattern I hadn't seen before, which then inspires me, for these podcasts, inspire for my posts, inspires for like a book I'm probably going to write, and so on and so on. So you're never going to waste my time. And so far, that's why I keep my calls free as well, though, because they're incredibly valuable for you, but they are also valuable for me. And I just love seeing your brains work. So feel free to do that. There's a calendar link that you can go to, you can sign up whatever time is convenient for you. I just leave up the spots that I don't mind being called in. So yeah, try it out. I love coaching. I cannot vouch enough for it. But the problem is in any other like business area, people are always referring coaches to each other, but because in VetMed, everybody are so, ashamed of saying you got problems, because I was like that, like the other day I tried to arrange a group coaching call and nobody wanted to speak because everybody is worried that somebody will know they're not doing well, and then that's kind of then other people within the profession will know it. So that's why in group coaching call it's really difficult to get people on, although it's so valuable. And also I had to get any referrals because my clients don't want to tell others that they were having issues, right? So So that's why you maybe don't hear about a lot of people that get coached in vet med. It's probably more than you think. We are quite a few coaches out here now, and it does work and it's awesome. But people just don't want to say that they actually struggled with mental health or just like with issues like this, like feeling behind, feeling burned out, not setting boundaries and all that. So that's that. All right. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next week. Bye.